you might be wondering, hey, where is Legend ZA? Well, as it turns out, I've hit a bit of a roadblock in the game. I need a couple of certain items or certain berries before I'm able to move forward. And I decided to spare you all from having to watch me grind until I get them. Since that's all I've been doing in the game lately is grinding, because that's all the game is. So for now, I guess that's an end to Legend ZA, at least until I've grinded and gotten the items I need. And who knows how long that's going to take, so it's back to this. And also, the Koroks, they're not ready yet for Breath of the Wild, so for the next little while, it's only going to be this. So for now, we're just going to continue hunting, and hopefully we can finish. Legend ZA and Breath of the Wild, well, they're on the back burner. I'm working on those behind the scenes, but for now, it's just going to be this. Man, the last time I did this, I was crashing out about having to get my wisdom teeth removed. And well, now, the wisdom teeth have come and gone. The whole thing's been done, and I have long been recovered from them. So, yeah, let's get back to shiny hunting. And you know what? Maybe it's a good thing that I'm back to doing this, not only because this series has long overstayed its welcome, but also because a certain someone was begging me, literally on his knees, begging me, "Sir, please, please, sir, I beg you, continue shiny hunting so you can keep talking about Chainsaw Man, please, I beg you, sir." I'll even... So yeah, doing this, I'm able to talk about Chainsaw Man again, and the other shows I've been watching. You know, at first, initially what I was going to do is just today finish talking about the last 2 episodes of Welcome to Derry, because the show's done, season 1 is done, and it's excellent. But then I decided, nah, let's stick with what we've been doing. So, we got an episode of Welcome to Derry to talk about, the second last episode of Season 1, since that's where I left off. We got an episode of Chainsaw Man, Sandman, and Dead Boy Detectives. Damn, I'm sad that Welcome to Derry is over, at least for now. Season 1 is over, and who knows when Season 2 is going to come out. Because this show is excellent. Absolutely Absolutely excellent. And it also seems like this series kind of has been extended by 1. Aren't you guys so happy that I'm going to continue doing this longer than expected? See, initially, I only have 3 more to hunt after this, and then the last one after those 3 is going to be something special. But then after that, it looks like there's going to be 1 more to hunt for. You'll see. You'll just have to wait and see. Man, I cannot believe I actually hit a roadblock in the DLC for Legend ZA. I hate this DLC. It's not often Pokemon releases something that I genuinely do not like. It doesn't happen often, but hey, can't please everybody, right? I am not a fan of this DLC. The Mega Dimension DLC, I am not a fan of it. So give me a moment, I'll talk about the shows in a sec. You know, it's been a while since I last hopped on Sword and Shield. It's because Clobopus was just added to Pokemon Go, and I need to evolve it into a Grapploct. I guess it's a good thing I didn't play anything last night, otherwise I would have discovered the hard way that I was roadblocked for the DLC. Yesterday, I was just too tired to play anything, because I woke up at 7 in the morning, and by that point I was awake for like 14 hours. So I was debating, do I play something despite being super exhausted, or do I try to sleep early and get some rest? Well, I hopped into bed around like 9:30. I tried my best, but no matter how hard I try, I can never sleep early, even if I'm super exhausted. So I briefly drifted away, but then I woke up at around like 11. And well, I was still tired, but not capable of falling back asleep. So I took the opportunity to watch the Season 1 finale of Welcome to Derry. And then I went to bed. And then last night, I still barely got much sleep. I was tossing and turning again, so I haven't gotten enough sleep the past 2 nights. Oh well, 'tis what it is. And you know, this morning, my whole family went to go and pray at a Chinese temple. We went to go and buy sun. Now, I know those two sound like completely something... They sound like something completely different in English, but just trust me. So this morning, my entire family went to a Chinese temple to pray and worship, or whatever the hell. I swear, at this point, I don't even ask for anything anymore. In the past, I would ask for bare minimum, you know? I would at least ask for, like, please grant my family good fortune. Please give my boys a good, happy afterlife. That's the bare minimum I ask for. But nowadays, I don't even bother asking for anything anymore, because nothing will come from it. Alright, are you guys ready to talk about Chainsaw Man? Well, too bad. We're starting with Welcome to Derry first. We have the second last episode to talk about. And then we will get to Chainsaw Man. Damn, it's been so long since I last talked about these shows. Can't believe you finished it at like 1 a.m. Well, the episode was like an hour and 8 minutes long. And I kept on trying to watch the episode, but then my family kept on calling me to do a couple things. And then for some reason, as I was watching the episode, it kind of glitched to where it would... instead of showing me episode 8, it showed me episode 1. And I was thinking, are they cutting back to some extra story with Maddie? But then no, it just kept on replaying the whole scene, and then I kind of figured something's wrong. They reused the entire scene from episode 1, so this can't be right. So I restarted, and yep, whatever happened, it glitched out and just started showing me episode 1 again, despite saying episode 8. But we're not here to talk about episode 8 today, we're here to talk about episode 7. Because episode 7... all you need to know is this show is excellent. We'll discuss the grand finale next time, but for now, let's go over episode 7, the second last episode for season 1. Oh, wait till you hear me talk about episode 8. But first, episode 7. So episode 7 of Welcome to Derry. Remember, the end of episode 6... oh, right. Hold on. There's some things I want to correct about what I said before, since now that some time has passed, I really got a chance to understand the story being told. So, I want to correct some things I said about the previous episode, if not then the one before. So, whichever episode was before, where we saw Pennywise in the flashback to a black and white Juniper Hill Asylum, I said that was like in the 60s or something. That is super wrong. That is when the show takes place. The flashback was in 1935. And if you follow the timeline that the show gives us, it is perfectly 27 years in between each time gap. So we begin in 1908, and then 27 years later, in 1935... and then, another 27 years later, is now. The show... wait, the year that the show takes place in. That being 1962. So, I want to correct myself about that last time. I said the black and white flashback was like in the 60s. Wrong. That was 1935. Okay, so if you remember at the end of the last episode, episode 6, a bunch of white guys wearing masks came to the black spot because they were looking for Hank Grogan. They got tipped off that, hey, this little party military base might be holding Hank Grogan. So these guys, they want him for that bounty, that reward, that money reward. So they enter, guns a-blazing. But then, our military folks who own the place, they have guns too. Only theirs are military, no, those are government issued, because they're in the military. So a standoff happens, but thankfully no bullets get fired, and the gentlemen in masks decide, you know what? You're right. This isn't the right way to do this. Hank Grogan even came out and was willing to surrender too, but his brothers in arms refused to give him up. So the guys leave. They feel like they got the victory so far, but then, they realize that they're locked in. They are locked in. All the doors are locked shut. Bullets are being fired in through the windows. But that's not all. They're throwing Molotov cocktails in through the windows. They set the place on fire. So, now they're trapped in there. Every exit is sealed. The place is burning. And then we get this really long, really amazingly done one-shot sequence. Just showing everyone panicking inside of the burning building. And I tell you, I have absolutely no idea what they did here. The movie magic that they pulled to pull off this one-shot take to show so many characters reacting to the fire, I don't know what kind of movie magic they did. Because, you know, obviously there's no real fire. Obviously it's all green screen. So I don't know what kind of movie magic they did, but very well done. Don't forget, our characters, our kids are in here too. Well, Ronnie panics and she tries to scream out looking for her father. So Halloran, he actually starts seeing things, because we know how Halloran is, he sees things. And Halloran, he sees this, like, Indian figure with, like, a bearskin hat on. At first I thought maybe it was Pennywise playing a trick on him, but no, he actually saw that. And we actually saw this character briefly in previous episodes. I'm pretty sure. Well, there's panic, there's chaos, there's fear, and Pennywise shows up. He offers his hand to this poor lady who, you know, is crying and fearing for her life. Pennywise lures her in by saying, "Take my hand, I know a way out." But then Ronnie, she turns around and sees Pennywise consuming her through the face. And he's just like, "What's wrong? Do I have face on my face?" So Pennywise has entered the building. And I also gotta say, this place looks a lot bigger when it's on fire. I swear, inside, before it was set ablaze, it actually did not look that big. Sure, there was a lot of people in there, and there were a lot of objects taking up space, but then, like, I don't know, this place looked like an airport hangar with how big it looked. On fire. Anyway, so Halloran sees Pennywise, and then Pennywise, I don't know what he does to Halloran, but he makes Halloran see all of these dead figures, and they just keep on haunting Halloran. They just keep noisying his mind with their voices. Well, Halloran does find a way out by the floorboard, so he tries to get everyone out. Will gets out, Ronnie gets out, Hank gets out, but there's just too much fire. Rich and Marge, they're trapped in there. So, they try their best on what they can do. Eventually, they stumble upon an empty mini fridge. And Rich has the idea, if we stay in here, we'll be safe until the fire goes out. So he opens it, he yells at Marge to go in there, but then Marge realizes, hey, there's not enough room for the two of us here. And Rich is just like, exactly. So he closes her in. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Oop. I didn't just unplug the internet, did I? The cables can be sensitive sometimes. Okay, so yeah. Rich sacrifices himself to save Marge by locking her in the mini fridge, safe from the fire. And yeah, we lose Rich in this episode. He gives himself up so that Marge can live. So the two of them talk about the first time they met. Marge says, "I love you" to Rich, and Rich says it back. Anyways, so while Rich is dying in there, suffocating from all the smog and smoke, outside, the people who set the black spot on fire, they start to drive away, but then one person, his car just won't start. And then someone walks up behind him. Who is it? It's none other than Ingrid Kirsch, dressed up. Completely dressed up. Oh wait, is this the episode that shows the origin? It is. Oh wait, it is. Forgive me, the 7th episode came out a couple weeks ago. Oh man, that's right. You know what, I should talk about that first. So beginning of this episode, we actually get the flashback. All the way back to 1908. Where we see Pennywise, the dancing clown, the real Pennywise, the human who played Pennywise, Bob Gray. So we see Bob Gray dressed up, playing the character of Pennywise, the dancing clown, putting on a show, and then all the kids go crazy and just rip his wig off and just start dancing on his stage as well. We also see in the distance one kid watching from afar. We see Bob Gray and his young daughter Ingrid, where she wants to take up clowning after her father. Bob asks Ingrid to show him the bow, the clown bow. And then Bob, he wants to be like, introducing for the first time ever, the father-daughter act, Pennywise and Periwinkle, the dancing clowns. Turns out Periwinkle was Ingrid's mother's stage name. So at night, we see Bob without his wig on, drinking and smoking, I assume before the show, or maybe after. And then we see this child appear before him from the darkness. Fascinated by the concept of Pennywise the clown. Because we know this kid is it. We know it's it in disguise. Before it was inspired to take up Pennywise the dancing clown. So this kid, it in disguise, lures in Bob Gray, lures away Bob Gray, with the sound of a woman screaming and claiming, "That's my mother. Will you help me find her? Will you help me help her?" So the two of them, they walk off into the darkness, and Bob Gray is never seen again. And then, if we follow back to the flashbacks before, in 1935, when Ingrid is working at Juniper Hill, she sees Pennywise, the dancing clown, and believes it to be her father. Her father, who she hasn't seen for nearly 30 years. And also who she saw murder the child Mabel. But for some reason, Pennywise lets her live. I don't know, he let Henry Bowers live. So yeah, poor Ingrid, she believed that her father may have been dragged away by wolves and then disappeared for nearly 30 years. And then, 27 years later in 1935, seeing Pennywise, the dancing clown, reappear in Juniper Hill. And now another 27 years later, in 1962, it's back. Relearn... Wait, no. Okay, first of all. So Ingrid shows up in full Periwinkle makeup, and it's actually Stanley whose car wouldn't work. Ingrid's husband. No, not Stanley Urine. Stanley Urich. Whatever his last name was from the It movies. So, actually, hold on. So, Ingrid sees Pennywise show up, and then Pennywise is behind Stanley with a giant cleaver, and then he just one-taps him. One clean slice. Slices his head off, and then starts eating his face. I don't know, it's kind of interesting to me to see Pennywise bite off and chew his food. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see him chew his food. But yeah, he just real quick, real violently slices off Stanley's head. One swift swing. And Ingrid reveals that she was the one who tipped off these guys that Hank Grogan might be here. Because she knew it would bring them here. And there would be pain and violence and fear. And that you would not be able to resist. So now, Pennywise asks her to show him the bow. Nearly 60 years later, more like 55-ish, 54. Over 50 years later, she gets asked to do the bow again. I gotta tell you, I don't know if it's the same actress in the 1935 portion. Like, unless they found someone who looks damn near identical. They did a great job de-aging her. I don't know, so, let's just make it easy. You know, I don't know how old Ingrid Kirsch is. Let's say she's like 8 years old in 1908, so she was born in 1900 precisely. Maybe she's 10 years old, I don't know. Around 8 to 10, I would assume. She's like 60 years old now in 1962. More than that, almost 70. It's like, damn, she aged gracefully. Very gracefully. She doesn't look a day over 40. But then when Pennywise tells her that he's about to go and sleep, aka leave for another 27 years, she grabs onto him and asks him, "Don't leave me, don't abandon me." And Pennywise doesn't like that. So she realizes that this isn't my father. She asks Pennywise, "What did you do to my father?" And he's just like, "I ate him." Pennywise shows Ingrid the deadlights. And then we cut to morning, where the fire's extinguished and we're seeing the damage. So Marge gets rescued by firefighters, but then she sees Rich's dead body. And I'm kind of surprised it's not charred. Hell, his clothes didn't even burn off. He just died sitting up from, like, smoke inhalation. He wasn't burned one bit. But we did lose Rich. So Charlotte and Leroy, they show up not only to pick up Will, but also to help Hank and Ronnie. So they have an idea. If Hank uses his clothes, it would seem like he died in the fire. So a dead man, he won't be really wanted anymore unless he gets recognized. So they go ahead with that, and Hank Grogan is declared a dead man. Well, our characters grieve over the loss of their friend, Rich. And there's one person they need to go and tell, because Lily wasn't there. She wasn't at Black Spot. So they need to go and tell Lily that Rich has died. Let's see. Halloran, he's still seeing visions. He then follows the Indian that he's seeing. Okay. I swear I'm probably forgetting some details since I watched this episode a couple weeks ago when it came out. Yeah. They tell Lily, and then they decide to go back to their meetup spot to clean up all of Rich's belongings. Marge even tries to throw the plane for Rich because he never did get it to, what, Main Street? Whatever. But that's not it for the episode. No. The military... Oh yeah, that's why. Halloran follows the Indian because the Indian is leading him to one of the artifacts that the military is looking for. And they actually find it. The military... Halloran led them to the spot, so they start digging. And then they find one of the artifacts, one of the shards from the pillars that is keeping a cage around Derry to trap it in. So the military dig it up, and they want to run some experiments on it. Halloran also reveals that he can feel it. He can sense that the creature is asleep. And we know, once it's asleep, 27 years later is when it'll wake up. So the military's like, there's no problem opening the cage. You know, it's asleep. So there's no problem. We can experiment a bit with this thing. So once they dig up one of the shards, which, by the way, is inside of a tortoise shell, again, with the turtles in this show, they dig it up, they go to the military base, and then they find out that they want to experiment with it. Leroy, he's against it, because he's thinking, well, what if it gets destroyed? We can't seal the cage again. So, after holding everyone at gunpoint, and then General Shaw talks to him about it, it's revealed what Shaw's plan really is. He doesn't want to reduce the cage, corner this thing, and weaponize it, no. He wants to unleash it upon the world, open the cage, and set the creature free. Obviously, that would be a lot more casualties. But Shaw's line of thinking is, well, we already have casualties every day. Innocent people die every day. What's a couple more to prevent the Cold War, or whatever his plan was? So, Shaw orders the continuation of the experiments. They drop this fragment straight into some, like, magma or whatever, seeing if it can withstand it. And it kind of seems like they unintentionally destroyed it, because this woke up Pennywise. He was starting to fall asleep, but then he woke up again. Instead of 27 years, he kind of fell asleep for 27 minutes. So Pennywise is awake. When he was about to go back to sleep, he's awake again. Will at the military base talks on the phone to who he believes is Ronnie, but then Ronnie's voice starts getting distorted, and then it turns out it's Pennywise on the phone. Will stands up for himself and is just like, you don't scare me, you hear me? Turns around and Pennywise is right there. And then he shows Will the deadlights. He has Will, and that's the episode. Unless I'm forgetting some details, which I probably am. I probably forgot some details here and there, but for the most part, that's episode 7 of Welcome to Derry. It's kind of fascinating to finally see the real Pennywise, Bob Gray. I gotta tell ya, dude has a huge head. And like, goddamn brother, if Jesus Christ, that bald head of his, like, brother, if I had that kind of hairline, I would just shave it all off. I'm gonna be honest. If I had that hairline, I would just shave the rest of it off. And also, you can tell Bill Skarsgård is putting on a fake voice, putting on a deeper voice. Because the voice just doesn't match the face. But whatever. Yeah, it's fascinating to see the real Pennywise. The real one. Which means, as of the It movies, the concept of the killer clown, Pennywise the dancing clown, wasn't a thing until like just about a century ago. And you have to keep in mind, It has been on Earth for millions of years. So it only recently took up being Pennywise the clown. As of It Chapter 2, only a little more than a century has passed since It took inspiration to become Pennywise. I don't know. They're doing more seasons where it's set in the past. Season 2, there's only so many times they can jump backwards 27 years, you know? They can only do it one more time for him to be Pennywise. Because once we hit... Okay, so right now the show takes place in 1962. 27 years earlier would be 1935, where Pennywise, or It is already Pennywise. But another 27 years earlier, it would be 1908, the year that It became Pennywise. But then if we were to go before that, it wasn't Pennywise. I want to see more Pennywise, of course, but I'm also willing to see whatever It was before Pennywise, like throughout the entire season. No Pennywise, just whatever It was, whatever form it took in the past. Anyways, so there you go. We will discuss the finale next time. And what a crazy finale it was, too. I didn't get a chance to watch it until a few days after it came out. Thankfully, I didn't get anything spoiled. So everything I saw was genuine. It was great. Alright, let me see if a certain someone is here before I talk about Chainsaw Man. Can you guys believe we're 2 weeks away from the end of the year? How time flies, you know? We're already nearing the end of the year. Which means, for the most part of the year, I was doing this nonsense. Anyways, are you ready? What? Are you ready for Chainsaw Man? I know you were on your knees begging me to continue the shiny hunt so I can talk more about Chainsaw Man. Literally begging me. Man, if only you got a chance to see my face as I watched this episode. Some of the dialogue, or rather lack thereof, man, you should have seen my face. You should have seen my reaction to some of the things in this episode. No shiny? I wish. I wish. Anyways, so we open up this episode, episode 4, with more flashbacks with Power. We see Power once again butt naked. And they're really coy with what they can show. Her hair is covering her nips. And wow, that hair stays in place. She was running, she was jumping around, and not once did that hair get out of the way. Not once were we able to see any of the goods. That hair was on there. So we see Power completely decimating some animals so that she can get her fill of blood, since she is the Blood Devil, or she was. She was the Blood Devil before she became a fiend. And she's still wondering, why is she risking so much for a cat? Because she completely annihilates animals just to feed. Ooh, let me tell you, she can suck me dry. What? So, she finally realized she loves blood because it's tasty, it smells good, but it's also warm. Anyways, cool. So, we see the aftermath of the last episode where Denji has taken down the Bat Devil. And we see, oh my god, Power's alive! So is Meowie. No way! They're alive? I watched them die right in front of my eyes last episode. They were eaten. Oh my god, they're alive! What a shocking turn of events! So we see that Denji has taken down the Bat Devil and has saved both Power and Meowie. Meowie is still in that cage, completely unfazed by anything. Meowie just gives 0 shits. So Power asks, why did you save me? I tried to kill you. Why did you save me? And no words spoken. All we see is Denji point to... We see Denji point to Power's chest, and then he raises his hand to do a squeeze motion. Oh, what am I watching? This is the show that you've been begging me to watch for so long. On your hands and knees, begging me, please, sir, watch this, I beg you. Yeah, it's peak. It's absolute peak. Anyways, no word spoken. All Denji wants is a good squeeze. And even Power is just like, what a ridiculous reason to save me. So anyways, she is just like, very well. You've earned it. Go ahead. Give my chest a squeeze. And Denji, he just can't hold his excitement. He just has to raise his arm and shout out loud yes in celebration. But he kind of celebrated too soon because his arm kind of gets blown off somehow. As if it was like Marie blew off Kate's arm. His arm just kind of comes clean off somehow. Maybe I missed something. I didn't exactly see what caused his arm to detach like that. I didn't see anything swing by super fast, cutting his arm off. And the thing that he fights in a moment, it doesn't seem like this thing can just blow up body parts like Marie Moreau. So anyways, Denji's arm, just as he's about to reach in for a nice good squeeze, maybe a little tip rub as well, it kind of just comes clean off. And then, oh no, there's another devil joining the battle. At first I couldn't really tell what it was. It kind of looked like something uncircumcised, and it also had a lot of udders to it, a lot of titties. Milk udders, as if it was a milk tank. So at first I couldn't really tell what it was the devil of. And it's revealed later on it's the leech devil. So power cannot move. So Denji is alone. He's now one arm short. He tries to pull his cord to unleash his chainsaws, but he's low on blood. So the chainsaw on his head can only come out so much. So this leech devil is just like, you killed my Batsy, we were together. But hey, you're cute. I'll let you live, but the rest of them, they need to die. And Denji's not gonna let that happen, because he was about to get a squeeze in. He's not gonna let this devil get in the way. So Denji fights off the leech devil pretty well, actually. Despite being low on blood and literally missing an arm, actually is able to hold his own. So yeah, he actually does put up a good fight. Yada 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 throughout the fight, and a lot of great animation. Denji gets a good cut in on the leech devil's neck, I guess. He's about to jump and go in for like a finishing blow, but then he gets stabbed right through by what looks like the leech devil's tongue, maybe? The leech devil was about to eat, but then Hayakawa shows up, and then he summons a giant fox head to take care of the leech devil. Let's just jump forward a little bit. It's revealed that Hayakawa made a deal with the fox devil. Hunters can make deals with devils to hunt more devils. Like, geez, what's the line not to be crossed in this line of field? But whatever. So, yeah, Hayakawa has made a deal with the fox devil in exchange for blood to feed. I guess he can summon the fox devil for aid? Okay, so Hayakawa summons the fox devil to take care of the leech devil. Alright, everything's taken care of. Public safety is here. The police are here. They are going to clean up the mess. They're going to transport our characters for medical aid. Even sends Meowie to a vet clinic to get checked out. So, in the hospital, Hayakawa speaks to Denji, also cuts up an apple. I don't know what that technique is called, where he cuts up the apple and the skin of the apple in that particular style. I don't know what that's called, but I've seen it before. Oh, right. Also, during Denji's fight with the leech devil makes fun of Denji's goals in life. How, all he wants, his only goal in life right now, not money, not fame, not even to survive, a squeeze. Getting a good fondle in. That's all his goal is in life. And well, that upsets him. That triggers him. And you know what? Fair enough. Everyone's goals is all revenge or whatever he said. What's wrong with a goal as simple as getting to touch some boobs? You know what? I smell him on this. Anyways. So yeah, in the hospital room, Hayakawa... Oh, right, hold on. Oops, one more thing. While public safety was cleaning up, we also get introduced to a couple new characters, all of whom I don't know the names of yet. We see for the first time the girl with the eye patch. I don't know her name. I'm sure we'll learn who she is and learn more about her as the episodes go. Another waifu, perhaps? As if this show hasn't had enough already. They just keep adding eye candy to this show, I suppose. We're gonna have another dispatch argument again. Then again, I'm late to that. So in the hospital room, Denji and Hayakawa discuss. Where Hayakawa, you know, he is questioning, why are you always seemingly making friends with devils? Devils are the enemy. Power, she tried to kill you, did she not? We saw on the city surveillance. An offense like this could get Power killed. We could take out Power. But you don't want that, do you? Since you're friends with devils. So, let's make a deal. Denji, you will do everything I say. You will follow orders, and I will sweep this under the rug. Deal? Cool. So, Hayakawa goes and reports back to Makima. Basically, coming up with lies about what transpired today. Claiming that, oh no, Power totally didn't smack Denji across the head and lure him into that house. No. They went together suspecting there was a devil in there. And they were right. The Bat Devil was there. They took care of it. And then the Leech Devil showed up. They did their best, but then we came in to help. And that's what happened, ma'am. I'm surprised Makima didn't call him out like, lies. But I'm sure Makima knew Hayakawa was lying and covering for them. Okay, so Hayakawa goes back home. He wakes up and then it's, morning routine. He makes coffee, he brushes his teeth, he does laundry. Damn, I wish I had long flowing hair like Hayakawa does. Must suck for Hayakawa, no? To just be living your life and then this guy that you're not particularly fond of, he lives with you. So now you gotta take care of him. He's about to cook curry for lunch, but then, hey, someone's banging at the door. Rather aggressively, and then even breaks the doorknob. It's Power! She shows up at Hayakawa's home. Makima calls Hayakawa and is just like, hey, I would like for her to stay with you too. Damn, this poor guy can't catch a break. Not only does he have to deal with Denji, he also has to deal with Power. So, of course, Hayakawa questions why. Why? Great, now I gotta re-center the camera. But yeah, Hayakawa questions, why are you putting these two psychos with me? Makima just says, because I don't trust anyone more than I trust you. And that even causes Hayakawa to blush. Okay, he's on board. So it turns out that Power is a bit of a handful to live with. She doesn't eat her vegetables. She drinks blood. So I assume she also likes meat. So she doesn't eat her vegetables to the point she just throws it away. Literally grabs it with her hand out of her food and just throws it across the room. She's not equipped to use the toilet. She's just like, I occasionally like to flush my feces away. No, I occasionally bathe. Damn, it's bad when both Hayakawa and Denji are telling you, flush the toilet. Go bathe, you stink. So, poor Hayakawa. has to deal with these two psychos, as well as a cat now, because Meowie's with her. So, as Denji is trying to unclog the toilet from Power's turrets, he even turns around and calls her, "Hey, turd devil, your logs aren't coming out." But no, Power pays Denji a visit in the bathroom to finish their deal. What deal? Even Denji's like, "What deal?" Power just points to her chest and then does a squeeze motion with her hand. And Denji realizes, my moment has come. This is the meaning of life. So Power sits down, and then, of course, in typical anime fashion, they make her look real nice. The way she sits, the way the camera points at her, she looks very nice to look at. And then it makes you wish at that moment you were in Denji's position, about to do exactly what he was going to do. So before he can let his hands go to town, Power has Power has a stipulation. She will allow him to... Oh my god. She will allow him to do 3 squeezes. One for saving Meowie, one for, fighting the Bat Devil, and then the third one protecting her from... public safety, I think. So, the two of them close the bathroom door, and then the episode ends. I suppose showing the squeezes would be too much for the show. You know what I'm questioning now? Now that Denji has gotten his life goal, where does he go next? What now? He has achieved his life's purpose. He has nothing else to fight for now, so what now for the character? I guess we'll find out what his new goal in life will be. Anyways, give me a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. You know what, though? You gotta respect Denji. He had a goal, and he achieved his goal. The question is, now what? He achieved his life goal he was willing to die for. Now what? Now where would the character go? You know, the house is quiet tonight. My sister's out, my dad is out, mom is upstairs resting, so yeah, it's just me. I am so disappointed. I am blocked in Legend ZA. Man, so much goddamn grinding I gotta do. To the point I gotta do it off screen. I liked Legend ZA. Don't get me wrong, but this DLC kind of ruins it for me. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about The Sandman, Season 2, Episode 4. I watched this episode while I was resting. Resting from getting my wisdom teeth pulled out. So it's been a couple weeks since I've watched this. Remember, the end of Episode 3, Nada had basically broken Dream's heart, telling him that she doesn't love him. So remember, Dream's mood gets reflected in his realm. So Dream is just standing in his balcony with the rain pouring down. Makes sense that Lucienne is a little worried. And yeah, Dream is wondering about everything. He tells Lucienne to just get rid of everything for Nada, since Nada was staying at the palace for a day. He created a room for her and everything. Well, Matthew cuts in and tells that, hey, there's an intruder at the front. It's Delirium. Delirium showed up, unannounced. And she's being held by one of the dragons in front of the palace. Because even the dragons didn't know that Delirium, like who Delirium is, and the fact that she was Dream's sister. I don't know, it's like ever since the beginning of creation, which, remember, Lucifer said was more than 10 billion years ago. Like, Delirium never once visited? Whatever. So Delirium visits, and she talks with Dream. Delirium wants to go and find their brother. Find their missing brother, Destruction. Delirium previously had asked Desire, Despair, other siblings, but everyone turned her down. Kinda seems like none of the Endless want anything to do with Delirium for some reason. But Dream is pretty opposed to going and looking for destruction. Well, because Delirium mentioned Desire, Dream gets up for a moment and talks to Desire. Well, obviously, it makes sense that Dream is suspicious of Desire, given Desire pulled the strings in Season 1. Anyways, it's kind of Desire that plants the idea into Dream's mind. If Dream is to go on this search for their brother with Delirium, he would have to go to Earth. Maybe he'll run into Nada. So anyways, Dream decides to actually accompany his little sister down to Earth and search for clues on where destruction may be. They need clues for where destruction may be, so they need to go to Earth and look for people who knew destruction. People who had connection to destruction to maybe see if they know any leads. Lucien can absolutely pick up why Dream is doing this. He doesn't care to find destruction. He just wants to perhaps run into Nada while he's on Earth. But Dream, he denies it. So they go to Earth anyways. We do see Destruction and his talking dog. Destruction painting a portrait. We actually don't know where Destruction is, whether he's on a secluded island on Earth or if he's in another realm. But yeah, we don't know for sure where Destruction is. However, wherever Destruction is, something else is happening. There is a little vortex happening, and it's a warning to Destruction that something or someone is coming. Anyways, so Dream and Delirium are on Earth, and Dream actually mistakes a woman for Nada, showing his true intentions on why he's doing this. He goes to a place called Feral Travels. It's a limousine service. They meet this woman named Wanda. Mr. Feral is unavailable, so he has tasked Wanda with guiding these two, taking them wherever they want. And then they pick a car that really stands out. They want to be discreet, and they are anything but. So the first person on their list on who they're trying to find is named Bernard Capex. And Bernard, well, he's on the phone. It turns out Bernard is a couple thousand years old. He walks by a construction site during a phone call, but then an accident happens where a bunch of salt blocks land on him, and he actually gets killed. Bernard gets killed, and death shows up before him, taking him to the great beyond, to the sunless lands. So once Dream and Delirium show up to where they were going to meet Bernard, I think that's his son, he tells them that his father had just passed. Dream suspects that something is preventing them from finding destruction. The people they're seeking out, there's something going on that is killing them before they can reach them to find where destruction is. Delirium believes it's just a coincidence. There's 3 names on the list. No way it'll happen again. So, despite Dream's thoughts on it, they continue. But first they ask Wanda to take them somewhere nice. So Wanda takes them to a bar. So Dream and Delirium, they talk to Wanda, and Wanda reveals that she hasn't seen her family in a while. Her parents. Because it turns out that Wanda is trans and doesn't know what her parents would think about that now. She left before the operation. Taking, what was it called again? Taking hormone supplements. There it is. And I gotta say, well, at first I didn't think nothing about the character. When we first got introduced to the character, I thought she was just a woman. Well, the Sandman isn't clean from everything woke, you know? They did gender bend Lucifer after all. So the show does have its woke moments, but whatever. Majority of the show is excellent to where I'm willing to overlook some of the woke things. So now, instead, they go to a dance club where they're going to meet someone who used to be the god of sex and war. Oh, what was this actress's name again? Because the moment I saw her, I instantly recognized her. She was in The Punisher, the Netflix show. Amber Rose Reva, or Riva. I guess it's Riva. Amber Rose Riva. Damn, she was hot when she was in Punisher. At least I'm pretty sure that's the same actress. So while she's on stage dancing, she notices Dream, and then she goes back and tries to go away, tries to run away. What was this character's name again? Well, she's Ishtar now. Whatever her original name was, I forget. She used to be a god, remember that. She claims she doesn't know where destruction is. And she's not very fond of Dream. But Dream does warn her that she may be in danger. They're trying to find destruction, and she may be in danger. Her life may be in danger. And Ishtar is just like, well, so be it. If I am about to die, I will die dancing. And almost like in a Final Destination kind of manner, yep, things happen. The curtains catch on fire. And as she's dancing on stage, pipes break, gas leaks, while the audience is mesmerized by her goddess dancing. And then fire comes out on stage. Dream realizes, but is too late to warn anyone, because the moment he turns and tells Wanda to run, a big explosion happens. Now everyone is dead. Wanda is dead. All the other tenants here are dead. Dream and Delirium are standing before a bunch of dead bodies, including someone who was just becoming a friend of theirs. Despair shows up and questions, why did you have to destroy my house? You know how a church is the house of God. Well, a strip club, yeah, that kind of is the house of Desire. So Desire's not happy that Desire's not happy that their house has kind of been destroyed. So now Dream's suspicions have come true. Something is preventing them from finding their brother, Destruction. And now Desire completely outs Dream right in front of Delirium, claiming, "You never had any intentions of finding our brother, did you? You only came along to try to find Nada." So that really hurts Delirium. So Delirium, now feeling betrayed, she leaves back to her own realm, closes her realm to both of her siblings, and she wants nothing to do with Dream anymore. Same goes for Desire. Desire also says they are done with Dream. Oh boy, Dream has really done it this time. Dream has now kind of pissed off two of his siblings. So we'll just have to see. I know I kind of broke down that episode very sloppily, but you have to keep in mind I watched the episode a couple weeks ago, so it's not as fresh in my mind. Not as fresh as the last thing we have to talk about today, that being Dead Boy Detectives. Now, I did literally just watch this episode before doing this. I don't know, something about when you watch a show that's been canceled, especially if it's just one season, you're not as motivated to watch it. It's not the same as, like, say if you were going to watch Legends of Tomorrow. That show had 7 seasons before it was canceled. No, this show only has, 8 episodes? 1 season and it was canceled, so you're kind of not as motivated to watch it. But I still will. I'll finish it. So I kind of was putting off watching more Dead Boy Detectives until I came back to do this. And I gotta say, now that I've seen this episode, it was really good. It was a really good episode. Okay. So episode 3 of Dead Boy Detectives, it was actually a really good episode. I found myself very invested as the episode went on. Beginning of the episode was kind of didn't really hook me, but then later on, like, the second half of the episode really had me invested. Okay, so remember the end of the last episode? A bunch of ghosts were lining up because they know the Dead Boy Detectives are in town and maybe their issues can be solved. So the Dead Boy Detectives, joined by Crystal and Nico, are trying to are trying to look up these cases and consider which ones to take on. So a bunch of candidates talk to them. Remember, they're all ghosts. They're all dead. So one by one, they're thinking, none of these are really worth our time. Until one lady by the name of Susan Kessler. No relation to Joe Kessler, wrong continuity. Susan Kessler says that 30 years ago, her sister's husband killed the whole family. Killed his wife, killed his killed his 2 daughters, and then even killed himself. That was 30 years ago. And you know who the killer is, so what's the mystery? Well, she inherited their house, but never went in. Well, since she died last week, she gets this feeling that that place is haunted. She can't move on to the afterlife until this is resolved. So, of course, the Dead Boy Detectives decide to take on this case, known as, what was it, the Devlin House? The Devlin Murders? So yeah, in the year 1994, a great tragedy happened with the Devlin family, where the father killed the mother and the two daughters. And supposedly, that household is now haunted. So, it's up to the Dead Boy detectives to solve the case. Before the team splits off to find any clues and leads, well, we get this, uncomfortable conversation, or this uncomfortable talk, where the topic is Crystal's body count and willing to add Charles to that list, that number, if he were alive. Since he's a ghost, kind of can't do that, but then Charles is like, oh no, there is a way. There is a way. Because Edwin is much older and not as intertwined with the whole common present day lingo, he doesn't know what body count means. Anyways, so they split off and two groups look for clues. Crystal and Charles ask Jenny anything she knows about the Devlin case, while Nico goes to the library with Edwin to try to find any clues to dig up the story. And also Edwin disguises himself as a detective lady. Because remember, we saw in episode 1, we see these boys are perfectly capable of disguising themselves. Anyway, so yeah, we slowly learned a couple of tidbits about the case, where it almost seems like the reason the whole thing happened was because the wife was having an affair. So the husband, the father, used a hatchet, used an axe to completely, well, murder the whole family. Also, he had a Radio Shack in the town. Small details you wouldn't think is important, but actually do come into play. While Crystal and Charles are getting their information from Jenny, who else but Esther shows up? Esther the witch. She shows up to the butcher, picking up her order of tallow. You know, fat. According to her, well, some skin routine to keep herself looking young. Esther also reveals that she made a deal with a primordial goddess named Lilith for immortality. I don't know, that's kind of crazy. We should have known Lilith exists in this continuity. Lucifer exists. Anyway, so what'd you miss? Not much. Clearly didn't miss a shiny. Anyway, so as they're leaving the library, Nico and Edwin run into Monty. Remember the person that Esther conjured up? And he seems a little too nice, too eager to get close to them. Oh, also they immediately acknowledge, hey, Monty, you're able to see Edwin? You know, the dead ghost guy standing here? He comes up with this bullshit story. Oh yeah, I was in a coma, and ever since I woke up, I can see ghosts. We also see throughout the episode a bunch of cats show up, because remember, the Cat King kind of trapped Edwin in the town. We also see throughout the episode that a bunch of talking cats literally show up to keep their eye on Edwin. Anyway, so Monty seems really attracted to Edwin. I mean, yeah, I know. Edwin is gay, I know. I would immediately label this show woke, but Dead Boy Detectives, the comics, he is gay, so like, fine. They didn't change him to be gay for the show, so at least there's that. Man, this episode had a bunch of... Not a bunch. I think I recall there being 2 woke lines in this show. Or not this show. This episode. Nico is completely gushing over the fact that, hey, Edwin, that guy was totally into you. You know it's okay for 2 boys to like each other, right? Whatever. So, the Afterlife Lost and Found... I don't even know if we got a name for this character yet. She's trying to get approval to go down to Earth to try to find the dead boys. But this lady who does paperwork, she's just like, oh, you only have a vague idea of where they're at? I need it to be more specific. You get me a more narrowed down location of where they are, and then I will approve your request to go to Earth and find them. Until then, no. It's also crazy too. Earlier in the episode, it was revealed. So, yeah, they questioned, why are there so many ghosts in town with unsolved cases, unsolved mysteries? We know death exists. Her job is to guide souls to the afterlife. So why are there so many ghosts? Well, it turns out the boys reveal there was never meant to be this many people. There was never meant to be this many humans. So, there's too many humans and a lot of them die. A lot of them don't make it to the afterlife. In fact, kind of like what we see later in this episode, a lot of them kind of get trapped. And I guess you could say that's why a quote-unquote organization like the Afterlife Lost and Found exists. It's kind of like the TVA, less for the multiverse, more for the afterlife. Anyways, yep, they got enough clues, I guess. So they go to the house. They also learned that the house is going to be demolished soon. Soon as in a day. And it's already nighttime, so they only have a couple hours to solve this case. Why is this so important? Because it's revealed if the house... Actually, no, I shouldn't say that yet. Something else gets revealed. So they go into the house, they hear music playing, but then they see the family. They actually see the family there. They see the father, named Brandon. They hear music play, they see Brandon come downstairs, they see him literally walk over, grab the axe, go to his family who is in the living room watching TV, confronting them and then hacking away at them, killing his entire family right in front of our characters. They question why. Why did they see that? Didn't this murder happen 30 years ago? Why did they show up and then they see the family being killed? They then hear a gunshot happening from upstairs, which signal after Brandon killed his wife and daughters, he took his own life. Well, the lights go out, the music replays, and then the mother and 2 daughters, they just walk back into the living room, getting ready to turn on the TV. We see Brandon come downstairs again, grab the axe again, and kill his family again. They're stuck in a loop. When I saw this, I immediately picked up, is this like Corpse Party? This is like Corpse Party, where the principal, he killed the mother, and then killed the kid, and then he took his own life by jumping off the roof. And he has to relive that loop forever. Am I the only one familiar with Corpse Party? So they're stuck in a loop. And Charles gets really pissed off seeing the father tear apart his family over and over. So they need to come up with an idea. They need to come up with a plan on what to do. Supposedly this is called the stone tape theory. The whole time, or not time, the whole death loop thing. Where if they can find the trigger and they remove it, then they're able to stop the loop. And then all these souls can finally move on to the afterlife. Damn, imagine that. Imagine being stuck in a death loop for 30 years. Happy Death Day, maybe? They also need to find out what the trigger is, and send these ghosts on their way before the house gets destroyed. Why? Because this loop is confined within these walls. If there's nothing holding the loop anymore, these souls will be lost forever. Nothing but pain and darkness, unable to move on to the afterlife. So they only have the rest of the night to solve this. And of course, there's a couple of cats watching. I know that's a weird detail to mention, but trust me, yeah, that's the case. We see Nico back at her place watching Scooby-Doo and eating instant ramen, because of course she does. Gotta have the Japanese character eating instant ramen with chopsticks, eh? So the two dandelion sprites from the last episode just keep on taunting her, keep on insulting her. Wow, these two characters are insufferable. But I'm pretty sure their goal is, annoy the person so much that they maybe open the container, releasing them, trying to teach them a lesson. And then, they're able to jump back into the body. So they're taunting Nico like, your friends, they left you behind. They're gonna die. You have no friends. You're a loser. And, well, that gets Nico thinking. But she doesn't act just yet. So our characters, they search the house. They search the house for the trigger. They realize, hey, maybe the trigger is the love letter. Brandon said, I found the letter. And they did hear beforehand that maybe the wife was having an affair, so that love letter has to be the trigger. They search the house for that letter. While Crystal searches, she hears some sort of noise coming from the vent. More on that later. She tries to talk to Charles, who found one of the daughter's diaries. In the diaries, it's written how she can't escape from her father. It seems like her father always has his eyes on her. Is very strict and stern with his rules. Damn, I can't wait to leave. That kind of thing, where she's being very restricted. And then we also know that Charles, he had a rough history with his own father. I don't remember if I mentioned in the last episode that he checks up on his parents who are still alive. Not only because he misses them, but because he wants to make sure his dad doesn't hurt his mom like he did him. So that's why Charles gets so triggered seeing Brandon literally kill his wife and two daughters. He knows what it's like. He's been on the receiving end of an abusive father. Well, so Edwin finds the letter, but it turns out it's not a love letter. It's an acceptance letter to a university. The mother wasn't having an affair. The daughter was ready and excited to leave to go to university. But this father, he just couldn't take it. Literally a line later saying the fragile male ego. My god. Whatever. The fragile male ego, something so small as a university acceptance letter, made him snap and kill his wife and 2 daughters. Are you kidding me? Fine, whatever. So, believing that the letter is the trigger, Crystal tears it up and it's like, ha! The trigger's gone. The loop is broken. But nope. Turns out the letter was not the trigger. After thinking about it, Nico then decides to actually leave and go help them. Nothing really comes from that. They just needed the character to do something. Well, now our characters feel a little bit defeated. They can't seem to figure out what the trigger is, if not the letter. So Charo's being super triggered by Brandon constantly killing his family right in front of them over and over because it's a loop. Charo's kind of becomes impulsive. He's just like, we tried it your way, Edwin. Now let's try my way. He grabs a bat, tries to strike Brandon. The ghost stuck in a loop. But Brandon actually deflects and hits Charles. Charles then disappears. And it's revealed that Charles is now part of the loop himself. So if they don't solve this, not only will all of these souls be lost forever, unable to move on to the afterlife, but Charles will be lost too. Only someone with a strong connection could have been caught up in the loop as well. Yep, Charles had a strong connection to this, strong emotions towards the subject. So they realize maybe the love letter, which was a university acceptance letter, wasn't the trigger. Maybe it's the music, because the music keeps on playing. But where's it coming from? They searched the whole house. There must be another room somewhere they didn't find. So they actually do find a hidden room where the music is coming from. And there's also security cameras. Monitors and security cameras, Five Nights at Freddy's style. Brandon was keeping an eye on his family. Being super strict as well. So they realize, hey, maybe the whole thing was recorded on this VHS tape. Like, you know, the curse. Because the cameras throughout the house recorded everything. The incident is all recorded on a VHS. So if they erase the VHS, maybe that'll break the loop. I know what I'm saying is completely ridiculous, but, you know, it's a supernatural show. Just bear with me. Crystal was about to smash it with a hammer, but then Edwin urges her not to do that. Maybe something bad could happen. Maybe they could ruin everything. So instead of just breaking it, they opt to just tape over it. Get rid of the pictures on the film. But bad timing is bad timing. Just as Crystal was about to erase the footage, oh no, David the demon shows up. And also, especially bad timing is bad timing. There's another creature in the house. They hear this noise coming. There is literally a creature called a misery wraith. A literal hell spawn that got lured here by all the misery. The misery from the family dying for 30 years. And if this misery wraith catches them, well, it'll feed on them for a very long time. So, think happy thoughts while near a misery wraith. But oh no, David the demon is paying Crystal a visit. So, oh no, Edwin has to act. Crystal is kind of unresponsive. She can't erase the footage from the tape, so Edwin has to try. But Edwin, he doesn't know what to do. Remember, this guy died in what, 1918? This is long before VHSs were a thing. Edwin doesn't know anything about VHSs. While David was inside of Crystal's mind, they flash back to things that they did together before Crystal lost her memories, and she doesn't really like what she was like before. She doesn't remember that she was kind of a bad girl, as in like very destructive. Causes a lot of damage. That's who she was before. Anyway, so, of course, because the episode's running out of time, Edwin somehow manages to erase the footage from the VHS. And they also trap the Misery Wraith inside of the secret room. So Edwin did it, barely an inconvenience, and the family is finally set free. 30 years of killing, they're finally set free and are finally able to move on to the afterlife. Charles is also freed from the loop, but they need to run. They need to get out of there before death comes for them. Because they can't be around when death is here as well. So they leave the house. No death cameo this episode, but we do see her angel wings silhouettes from the house. We see the family get taken up, but then we see the room where Brandon was. Just a big red flashing light and hearing Brandon scream. Well, the case is solved, case closed, done. The next morning, Nico shows up. A little too late, but hey, it's a thought that counts. They go back to the butcher shop where they live, and Monty is there. Monty is there to try to, get closer to Edwin. It even seems like Charles is a bit jealous. Well, they all leave Edwin and Monty alone. Not only are cats watching them from afar, Esther also shows up and sees them. Well, in the afterlife lost and found, our characters were stuck in a death loop for 30 years, so they were unable to move on to the afterlife. The afterlife lost and found now has them. These two were on our missing list for 29 years, and they claim they were just saved by two detective boys, two ghosts. Oh, really? Tell me, dear missing children from the afterlife, tell me exactly where you were and where you were saved. Because remember, they need an exact location of where the dead boy detectives are before they can actually go to Earth and try to find them. And now, they have souls who can tell them exactly where they were. So, the afterlife lost and found will be coming after our boys. This actually was a really good episode. More so the second half. The beginning was a little slow. But once the plot started picking up, I was invested. I was hooked. Alright, well, that's all I have to talk about for today. I'm not too sure what I'm gonna watch after I'm done these shows. Once I'm done Sandman, once I'm done Dead Boy Detectives, once I'm done Chainsaw Man, I'm not too sure what I'm gonna watch next. I have nothing immediate that is an urgent matter to watch. And of course I have an enormous backlog of things that I'm behind on, but like, well, why not add more to it, you know? Why not delay it even more? What takes pressing matters? What is most important for me to watch right away? Oh no, we'll see. You know, maybe just about 2 weeks ago, no, about a week. Around last week, my friends came over. They watched the movie, and I didn't really pay attention because I was too busy showing one of my friends Madvocate. I showed him his video on season 1 of The Flash, so I didn't really pay attention to the movie. What was the movie called again? I didn't really pay attention to it. What was it called? Sicario, that's it. The movie was called Sicario. I didn't pay attention to the film, so I have no idea what it's about. But regardless, so my friends were watching the movie, and then they were asking me, yo, who's this actor? Who's this actress? They asked me who the main actress is, and I'm just like, Emily Blunt. They're just like, how do you know so many actors by name? And I just tell them, when you watch as much as I do, you start recognizing actors, and then you start knowing their names. Like in this movie, a couple notable faces that I recognized: Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin, John Bernthal, Victor Garber. Wasn't there someone else in this movie that I recognized? Well, there was Benicio del Toro. This dude's in a lot of movies. You know who Benicio del Toro played? He played the Grand Master. No, not the Grand Master. Wrong character. He played the Collector in Guardians of the Galaxy, brother to the Grand Master. And also, there's a Sicario 2. Not sure if we'll watch that. I didn't even pay attention to the first film. Oh yeah, there was another actor in here who I only really seen in The Walking Dead, I think. Maximiliano Hernandez. He played Officer Bob in Season 5 of The Walking Dead. Wait a second, really? He played Jasper Sitwell? How did I not recognize him? Wow, no kidding. He... Wow, and people say... People question how can people not recognize Clark Kent as Superman just by a pair of glasses. I really didn't. Can you believe that? I actually didn't recognize this actor just because he has a pair of glasses on. How crazy is that? Sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah. So my friend's question, how do I recognize so many actors and know them by name? You just watch a lot of things, you recognize actors, and you start remembering their names. You recognize them from across different projects. Like, do you have any idea how many things I watch? Like, just simply the fact that I watch Marvel, DC, and Walking Dead. You know how many projects fall under those three alone? And then there's all the other miscellaneous projects that I watch as well. Oh, speaking of upcoming projects, hold on. Okay, so a little while ago, I was wondering, when I was watching YouTube, I was getting ads for the movie Ready or Not. I talked about Ready or Not. My friends and I, we watched it, and then I talked about it here. You know how at the end of the movie it was all "Hail Satan," and then everyone died? Well, I was watching YouTube, and then I was getting ads for it, and I'm thinking, why am I getting ads for this movie? This movie came out... What year did this movie come out? It came out, what, 7 years ago? (2019). Almost 7 years ago. So I'm thinking, why am I getting ads for a 2019 movie? And because I wasn't gonna watch an ad for a movie I already saw, I always just skip the ad. And then I finally realized they're making a sequel? That's why I was seeing ads for it. They were using clips from the first movie. They're making a Ready or Not 2. Maybe a little late, 7 years after the first movie came out. But you know what? I'll check it out. I'll watch it. And this new movie is going to have Catherine Newton in it. As... I already forgot the main character's name. Ah, Grace, that was her name. The main character's name. Yeah, it's Catherine Newton is going to play the sister of Grace. Readier or notter. I like that. And it's going to be those kind of movie tropes, kind of like Squid Game, where the main character that we follow miraculously survives the same very unlikable, unsurvivable instance twice. Just because plot armor. Like, realistically, a character probably will not survive these kind of things once, let alone twice. But of course our characters will. Anyway, so watching the trailer, there were a couple of actors that I immediately recognized. I saw Elijah Wood. He's going to be playing one of the villains. I don't know, I don't really see Elijah Wood as a menacing face. So I kind of laughed at seeing him being one of the main villains, but we'll see. We'll see. We also have Sarah Michelle Gellar. You know, the original Daphne for Scooby-Doo. Ooh, those James Gunn Scooby-Doo movies were wild. We also have Kevin Durand. Kevin Durand, what did I see him in? I recognize his face, but what did I see him in? He was in... That's not the right project. That's not the one I watched. What did I see Kevin Durand in? Oh, yeah, exactly. He was in Scooby-Doo 2, also by James Gunn. What did I see Kevin Durand in? Oh, right. He was also in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Right, he was in that film. That's right. He was in Swamp Thing. You know, the show that was canceled. It was a really good show, too. Really high quality. Too bad it was canceled. What else did I see him in? Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I haven't really caught up with the whole Planet of the Apes franchise. If I'm not mistaken, the movie they did with Mark Wahlberg never got a resolution. So that movie left off on a cliffhanger, and we never got anything from it. Nice. You know, I don't really see Mark Wahlberg in a lot these days. I know he's still acting. I just don't really watch the projects he's in. I don't really see any projects he's in. I don't really ever see any trailers with him in it. So yeah, we're getting a Ready or Not sequel. 7 years late. You know, 7 years after the first film. But, hey, Hollywood needs to make some money. So instead of original ideas, they just make sequels. Well, better that than a remake. Disney. You know what I thought about actually the other day? Oops. Let me talk about this and I'll end it for today. For some reason, my mind went to the Alvin and the Chipmunks Frankenstein movie, the animated one from, was it the 80s or the 90s? But yeah, for some reason I thought back to that film, and then it made me think, we don't really have live action films like that anymore. Remember in the early to mid 2010s, we would get these horrific looking, but good enough to pass live action movies like Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Smurfs. We don't really get movies like those anymore. And I'm not counting Disney's obsession with making everything live action. So Lion King, Lilo and Stitch, those don't count. We don't really get movies like that anymore, where characters get put into live action when they're originally cartoons, not counting Disney. Right? When was the last time we had a movie similar to Alvin and the Chipmunks or the Smurfs? We don't get movies like that anymore. Anyways, this will be the last one for tonight. No shinies tonight. I'll see you guys next time.